Hi, coaches. Welcome to your virtual travel coaches meeting. I'm Wynn Lennon. I'm the program director for DJFH. Let me just start off by saying that this video format is designed to be really convenient for you. It's undoubtedly the cringiest part of my job, looking at myself on camera. So please just bear with me as I fumble along here. But just want to start off by welcoming you all and saying I'm so looking forward to really meeting you on the turf as we get started with evaluations, which are just around the corner. Think of this meeting as an orientation into our program. I will cover who we are as an organization, give you a snapshot of our program headcount and look at our schedule. I'll talk about the culture of DJFH, list out your coaching responsibilities, go over some of the logistical stuff and talk about our curriculum, cover how to communicate, namely with your team parents, and then finally what to do when you can't make it to a clinic or a game. All right, I'm going to start off our meeting with who we are as an organization. DJFH is a nonprofit. We're a volunteer-led board. We have parents whose daughters currently are enrolled in our program, and we have parents that do not have daughters currently enrolled in our program, which is fantastic. I think the most important thing about our program is that we're a developmental and we're an inclusive program that meets the needs of all skill levels. We are not a club team. We don't make any cuts. The athletes that we serve will really run the spectrum of girls playing. Some will be playing year-round field hockey and have aspirations of going on to play in college. And then we have girls that are there strictly with us for the social side of the sport, or maybe because their parents sign them up for exercise. All are welcome. There's a leveled team for everyone, and athletes are placed on the team that really best meets their needs. It's our job as the coaches to adapt to whatever athlete we have in front of us and to help them develop from where they are. I love to use this popcorn kernel analogy when thinking about athletic development. When you make old-fashioned popcorn, you have the kernels, you put them in the pot, you have your oil and the heat. It's the same oil, the same heat, the same pot, but those kernels will never pop at the exact same time. And kids are no different. And I want you just to keep that imagery in mind and know that we really can't rush development as much as we may want to as coaches or as parents. It's, kids develop themselves. And we play a part in that, but we cannot rush it. The last really important thing that makes us unique as a program is probably our synergy with the high school. Our high school program is called BWFH, or Blue Wave Field Hockey. Those players are really another backbone to our program. They come down and we use them as interns. They work mostly with the house side of our program, so they might be clinicians in our first, second grade. They might be junior officials for our third, fourth grade. They could be a trail official for some of your travel games. A handful of them will be assistants to you on the travel side, which is great. The little girls look up to these girls. They look at them as local celebrities. So we love to form that connection and get the girls excited. We really want to retain our youth players for as long as possible. And so we'll do fun things over the course of the season, like maybe encouraging our girls to go to a varsity game under the lights. We'll make a tunnel, we'll make signs. We might feature some of those high schoolers on our Instagram, maybe have them come down and do a fun, clinic sometime in the season. So it's really special. We love having them, and we know that one day many of our youth players will be those high school girls giving back to us. Here is an overview of our head count and some scheduling specifics. It's just meant to give you a sense of how many registered athletes are inside of our travel program, so you can kind of wrap your head around how many approximate players you're going to have per team and how many teams we'll have per grade level. All right, as of July 31st, you can see here we had 256 registered athletes inside of our travel program. There will be 2 coaches per team, and you may have a BWFH intern helping out. The 5th grade level, we have 75 athletes, 4 teams, which leaves us to about 18 or 19 players per team. At the 6th grade level, we have 61 athletes. There will be 3 teams, which gives us 20 players per team, which is a little large. So that's why I have an asterisk here. We'd like to move up 4 players to the 7th grade level, where we only have 63 athletes, and at 4 teams, that's 15 players per team. But if we move up those 4 6th graders, it'll give us 16 players per team, which is ideal. And then at the 8th grade level, there's 57 athletes. There's 3 teams, and that's 19 players per team. Your clinic will be on the 5th and 6th grade level Monday and Wednesday. It's 5:30 to 7, but then we lose daylight as the season goes on. So honestly, it does slide back to about 6:15 And then 7th, 8th, you're on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Your fields are listed here. You can read 5th grade, your upper and center oval. 6th grade, you'll be on baseball. 7th, same thing, upper and center. And 8th grade will be on baseball. And then your schedule should be posted likely the first week of September, if not sooner. You'll have one game either on Saturday or Sundays. You'll just go on DJFH.org to see your schedule. I believe you can sign up to get notifications texted to you. This is a little bit about the culture at DJFH. Number one, as coaches, we need to create an environment and experience on the turf that's so fun and so enjoyable that our athletes cannot wait to come into practice and they want to sign up next season. It's really that simple. It all boils down to fun. No athlete is getting handed a college scholarship out on our turf. None of us coaches are getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. And when you think back on your own, youth sports experience, I can almost guarantee that you remember very little technical skills or specific drills. What you probably do remember is the music during your warm-ups, maybe some funny, fun relay races, a story your coach told you, a team pyramid picture that you might still have, things like that. The second really important thing about the culture at DJFH is we are more than just our scoreboard wins. And this is a really tough concept to wrap our heads around here in Darien. Success is not just equal to winning games, just as failure is not equal to losing. We've all played in games as athletes where we've played our hearts out and played outstanding and done phenomenal things as a team, but things just didn't go our way. Success really comes from things like, striving to win, when an athlete or team gives maximum effort, improving a skill that was previously a challenge, perseverance in the face of a setback, sportsmanship, working together as a team, and then the coach, again, creating a really fun, positive environment. Lastly, I just want to mention here, I've created a video platform in addition to these videos called Turf Talk, and all the videos are just 60 seconds or less. They're designed to give you coaching insights or tips in a really convenient way. So please, when you can, just take a look at those over the course of the season, because that will inform you as a coach and it will enhance DGFH's overall culture. Now I'm going to cover some of the logistics of the program. Each travel coach has 2 practices a week. That's if you're coaching one grade. Monday, Wednesday is for the 5th and 6th. Tuesday and Thursday is for the 7th and 8th. You all should be at the turf at 5:15. The athletes will come to you at 5:30. Your games will be published on DJFH.org once you're signed to your team. I'll get more into that when we cover the schedule. I'm tweaking the travel curriculum this year and developing what I've called a principles of play curriculum. You don't need to know anything about that right now because I've created a video explaining it all to you guys. You'll get that a little bit later. That is worth noting. I am going to communicate with you all more via video versus lengthy emails. I coached lacrosse in the spring, and admittedly, I skimmed or read about half of the emails, and I was that person that was writing those long emails last season. So I'm hoping that this is a little more convenient for you all. You can maybe multitask while listening or watching, and it gives a little bit of love to the visual and auditory learners. Okay, so as the program director, I am a resource to all of you. However, at the travel side, I do expect that you have an IQ and that there's a level of reactionary or organic coaching that should happen. I will float between the 2 turf fields we use for our practices and pop in and out of drills. It's also worth noting that I do plan all of the evaluations, so that part is taken off of your plate, and I think it's great because it helps to ease you guys into the coaching. Okay, now probably to the most important part of the meeting. I'm going to cover all of your coaching responsibilities. Number 1, as I mentioned, the logistics, please arrive 15 minutes early to the clinics and to games. It's important that you are the anchor for your team and that the parents and the kids can find you when they arrive on the fields. Number 2, for your weekend games, it's important to create a balanced lineup ahead of time. Don't leave it to game day warm-ups. It's not a good feeling to be, distracted on the sideline while your girls are engaged in their warm-up. It's also not a professional look to be busy writing on the sideline when you should be working with your goalie or scouting the other team. Also on game days, it's really crucial that you manage your playing time and your substitutions. What I would do is just create a substitution system with your co-coach. I find it very effective to just designate one coach to manage that role each game. It's worth noting on our third, fourth grade teams, what we do is we sub down the line. So the girls will sub in at defense, they'll slide down to mid and then attack. I do think there will be some games where you will be up enough, you'll be winning by enough that you can implement that system. It's great because the girls don't get locked into a single position at a young age. They really should be comfortable at the youth level playing both sides of the field. Most importantly, equal playing time is the expectation at DJFH. Again, just going back to that who, we are a developmental program. And if I'm being completely honest with you, it is the single thing that parents will complain about the most. So please be mindful of that. Okay, number 3, speaking of our parents, it's really important that you communicate with your team parents via email. Once you're assigned a team, what you'll be able to do is go on djfh.org. You can create a username and a password, and you can access all of their emails. You can email them directly from the site. It's super streamlined. Please just introduce yourself. I will send you a template letter so that it's super foolproof. You are also expected to send them weekly recap, game recap emails. That does not need to be this tedious thing. It's just 3 to 5 sentences telling them, a couple things you're working on or a team accomplishment, and it keeps them in the loop, and they like, chatting with their daughters about it. So please do that. Okay, last 2 things are just personal pet peeves, so I'm going to tell you them ahead of time. Number 1 is please leave no trace behind on the fields. I'm just blown away by the amount of literacy on the fields. It's definitely not just our program. We share those turf fields with a lot of other sports. You should never leave before your team, before your athletes leave. Once they leave, please just sweep your sidelines, make sure any lost and found is picked up and put in our storage unit. If there's any trash, dispose of it properly. These fields are relatively new, and I spend a lot of time when no one's looking picking up trash. I can't believe the state of them sometimes, so please just be considerate, respectful, set the tone with your team. Number 2, or the last little pet peeve of mine, is when coaches do not manage their equipment, namely the balls. We had a little bit of an issue last year. First of all, balls are really expensive. They were just disappearing. It was like a black hole. We had a little bit of a turf monster. So what's going to happen this year is you'll get a ball bag. It'll be designated to your team. You'll have a set amount of balls, enough for your team to work with to start out with. Protect that supply of balls. Get into a good habit. Do a sweep at the end of your practices and your games. Whatever you end up with, that's what you will have your next practice or your next game. Get a little competitive among your coaches and make sure that we have all of our equipment, all of our balls put away. The second thing is you will get a coach's bag. All the necessities are in there. You've got your dry erase board. Use those. We did not use them enough last year. You really want a diagram and sketch things out for athletes that are visual. You'll also have mouth guards in there, a med kit. Please bring those to all of your clinics and all of your games. You would have very little tolerance for an 8th grader that showed up with no equipment, without their stick or their mouth guard. We are expected to do the same thing. The easiest way to sidestep all of this is just to put your ball bags and your equipment or your coach's bag in the trunk of your car so that wherever you go, your equipment is there. The only thing you'll really ever need from our giant storage unit is you'll need cones. Everything else in there is pretty much, we have pop-up goals and some other little fun things that we use in our house program. But for the most part, the equipment that you'll need day to day should be with you, on you, in your car. All right, communication. I will send you a document called the Flow of Communication. It just gives you a sense of who handles what inside of our program. All you need to know is your job is to communicate directly to the athletes about things like areas of improvement, feedback, answer any of their questions or their concerns. If they have any health concerns or injuries, or they're going to miss a practice or a game, all of that gets reported to you. My job as the director is to handle any unresolved concerns relating to any of those topics or any bigger issues. We had very, very few last year, but if something does come up that's out of the ordinary, know that I have your back and I'm here to support you. It's just very important that you always give me a heads up so that I have a context for things before I go and talk to the parents. Along those lines, one thing I want to stress is to not have any on-the-spot, on-turf conversations with your parents. This is, again, very rare, but if a parent were to come up to you and say something along the lines of, why didn't my daughter play more? I would advise to say something like, thanks for bringing this up. Let's talk about this off of the turf. What would be a good time for you? Do you mind just sending me an email? You want to give yourself a pause to have a thoughtful response and prepare a little bit before you get back to them. Going back to communicating with your parents, with your welcome letter, You can choose whether or not you want to distribute your personal phone number. That's your call. It's definitely not mandatory. I do kind of encourage it. I think we've gotten away from having conversations in the age of emailing and texting, and a lot can be resolved that way. It's just more efficient. In terms of communicating between the coaches and me, I will set up some periodic, just like after practice check-ins to take all of your temperature on things that need improvement, answer any questions. They won't be long. We'll maybe do 2 or 3 over the course of the season, but just so I have a sense of how things are going. And I will email you before we have those check-ins, so you just know you'll stay like, an extra 5 minutes or something like that. Commitment policy. So DGFH encourages participation in other sports outside of field hockey. With that being said, we believe a commitment to the team becomes important as our athletes approach high school. On your teams on travel, the athlete is expected to make a commitment to the team, their teammates, to you as the coach by attending all of the practices and the games. It's a very short season. There's very few practices and games. Of course, there's excused, medical absences or family conflicts, but unexcused missed practices or games do impact the athlete's playing time. We were very lenient last year because of COVID. We will be following our commitment policy. We'll be following it more closely this year. It's worth noting that the same commitment policy that we have for our athletes, we expect that from our coaches. If you do need to miss a practice or a game, you need to let our assistant director know. Her name is Lauren Palomo. She's in charge of all of our staffing needs. You'll see her email on that flow of communication document. Once you email her, it's your responsibility to go and find coverage. So you're going to contact one of the other coaches and make sure that you have coverage for your game or for your practice. Our away games, we definitely require 2 coaches. Practices generally, we don't need 2 coaches. There's a co-coach model for a reason. So if someone is there covering your team, you should be fine. But it's very important for games that you arrange coverage. Thank you, coaches, for making it all the way through the end of this meeting. I know it's a lot of information, but it does sure beat the hour-long meeting that we had last year, so I do feel good about that. If you have any lingering questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, either by phone or email. I am probably quicker by phone. I will see you all real soon at the turf at our coaches meet and greet. That meeting should be about a half hour long, really short and sweet. It's just an opportunity for you guys to meet each other in person, to get acquainted with our fields and know where to go on day 1, to walk through our storage locker and see all the equipment, and to, of course, discuss our upcoming evaluations. If for any reason you cannot attend that meet and greet, please just email Lauren Palomo, the assistant director, as I mentioned in the commitment policy section. She is our staff management point person. That's it. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and I'll see you all real soon.